Shabbat Shalom. The Sabbath beckons us each week to find our own rhythms, if only for a day, to cherish this moment without thoughts of what's next, to reveal ourselves, gleaning the chosen from the imposed, to determine what we want and what we need, and so each week to make ourselves whole, if only for a day. For those who don't know me, I am Rabbi Lauren Werber, the rabbi at Congregation Beth Adam in Cincinnati. Welcome to those of you who are joining as our members, both in Cincinnati and throughout the world, and to those who may be just getting to know us. We're glad to have you celebrating Shabbat with us. Last Shabbat was our celebration of Welcome Weekend. I can say that I am still flying high from the service itself, from the warmth and joy of the evening, from the loving embrace I feel in this community and that I hope is shared by those who join us. From the adult education session with my friend William Teeley, who reminded us of the power that comes with compassion for self and for others. I, for one, am not ready to let go of the wonderful feelings that came with the weekend. And so how lucky we are that Shabbat has come, offering us an oasis in time, a chance to feel all those good feelings and more, if only for these moments. Ma yafeh hayom, how beautiful, how wonderful is this day. Shabbat Shalom. Let the Sabbath be a time for believing in what could be and seeing with new eyes. In this serious world, let us take ourselves less seriously. In these harsh times, let us listen for a soothing word. While the world around us unfolds in an instant, let us judge each other a little more slowly. Let the Sabbath shine a light into a corner of ourselves where hope is renewed. Let us remember a reason to be joyful, a way to be gentle. Let the Sabbath be a time for opening up. Let us find strength in our dreams and trust in our strength. As we prepare for the lighting of the Shabbat candles, I offer you this reflection by Rabbi Karen Kadar. Hope is the opposite of cynicism. Say, despite what is probable, all is possible. Say, we are only limited by our imagination. Say, the universe abundantly provides. Be like the sunflower, scan the heavens for the light. Turn toward the light. As we kindle the Shabbat candles, as we turn toward the light, may we see hope. May we see possibility. Baruch ha'or ba'olam, blessed is the light within the world. Baruch ha'or ba'adam, blessed is the light within each person. Baruch ha'or ba'Shabbat, blessed is the light of the Sabbath. These are words of Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch, and he's in a way describing the courage it takes, courage to truly experience Shabbat. Dare you once stop looking forward with earnest intent to the goal which you have to gain, and instead gaze back for once. Look around you and down into your inner self. Look joyously and calmly at the hope with which you cherished, the ideals which you strove after and partly realized. And for once in the way, step out from the restless and afflicted world of that is to be into the blissful world of being, into the enjoyment of paradise on earth. This is the essence of Shabbat, the idea that we can feel the goodness of the best world that we are able to imagine, the moment when eternity utters a day.
A thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night. And eternity utters a day. Eternity utters a day.
We have a special treat this evening because so many of you asked, and because my friend, Reverend Kathy Ketchum, so graciously accommodated your wishes. She and I got together this week for a Zoom conversation. I'm going to share with you now a little more than half of the conversation we had this week, and we'll share the other half sometime soon. Please be sure to come back for the second half. She offers some insight and some perspective that I think will guide all of us in the coming months. It will certainly guide and motivate and comfort me. But for now, until you come back for that half, we have part one of a conversation with Reverend Kathy Ketchum. For those of you who were able to join us for our celebration of welcome last week, and thank you for being there, whether it was in person or online, you had the pleasure of meeting my very dear friend Kathy Ketchum. And many of you would love for Kathy to join as clergy at Beth Adam, and you made your voices known and told me to bring her back. So I have answered that call in just a week, and we've brought Kathy back, Reverend Ketchum back for a conversation. I want to give you a little sense of what we want to do for you, and we'll see how it goes. So during the pandemic, I developed a sort of ritual of online tea, where each day I had an online tea. It had some rules with different people. And my teas with Reverend Kathy were some of the best, because I don't know if you remember, but we went from super, super serious, geeky subjects to crying laughter and back again many times in a row. So one of the rules was you had to have your cup. And yeah, so we both have our tea now, and we're going to have sort of a tea, but it'll be a little bit different because we decided we were going to go with, I'm calling it quick fire questions. I have the feeling nothing will be quick about the questions, where we're just going to ask each other things we're wondering.
I'm choosing not to be offended by that. Go ahead.
I didn't say it would be because of you. It might be because
no. I know what you meant. Go ahead.
So the idea is we'll just chat and we'll see where it goes, but we both have some questions in mind that we might ask one another and get to know each other a little more, because my hope is that we'll be able to bring you back and discuss perhaps specific questions as part of adult education or as part of other services. So this will be more of a free-for-all. My goal overall, though we may look at some sadness, we may look at some worry. Overall, I hope we leave this conversation hopeful and joyful and celebrating the good in the world. I guess we can pass on questions, but we will look down upon one another if we do.
Wait,
if we ask a question and we pass, right?
Absolutely.
We can.
Absolutely.
So I want to start before any real questions with just letting you know who Reverend Kathy is a tiny bit. So can you give just a little of your background, where you served, that kind of thing?
I can. So I grew up in Elyria, Ohio, and I finished college in Shreveport, Louisiana at a Methodist school. And I met my first husband there. Then I went to seminary at Emory University in Atlanta. I don't even know if Atlanta is that way, but I'm pointing as if it were. So that's what I did. And I was then ordained a United Methodist minister, and I served churches in Louisiana for, all told, I was gone for 20 years off and on doing other things. Then I came back to Ohio and transferred my orders for preaching from the Methodist Church to the United Church of Christ. It just was a better fit sort of theologically for me. At that time, United Methodism was kind of veering in a kind of very ultra-conservative way, especially in the Southern churches. So I ended up in the United Church of Christ because it was a better fit. And I retired from ministry in Elyria at a church, I think in 2022. So, and I've just been sort of freelancing since then. I did say, this offended people. I just do like subbing. If there's not a minister there, I just fill in. And I said kind of jokingly to somebody that I was a preacher whore, that I just sort of was, preaching for money, which wasn't exactly true, but they were so offended. I thought, well, of course they were offended. What a terrible thing to say. So you might want to cut that. Maybe you want to cut that part out.
We may not have time to edit it out. I think, and we may all,
Oh, no.
we may all know that, which is fabulous and hilarious. And part of why I love my community is I think we would laugh at that. And we also know where your heart is, and that's not at all the case. And that's why it's funny.
And Lauren, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I want to tell you that evening, that celebration service was so genuinely welcoming. Your people are, and they love you. And by the way, people, I've heard her say how much she loves you back. But it's such a genuinely welcome and open. It was a great experience with wonderful people, and I can see why you're loving it so much, Lauren. Okay, back to you.
I could not feel more fortunate. And I think the community is getting tired of hearing it, but it is the case that
I can see.
it's just the greatest place for me to be. So I'm glad you felt that same love.
I sure did.
I had asked for, I think for those who may not have been part of that celebration, that service, I had asked a few of my clergy friends to take part. And Kathy was one of them. And you told the story of how we met. And I have to tell it so that it can be really short because I want to talk about it. But you told it way better, and people can go back and listen. But we met after the Tree of Life shooting in Pittsburgh, which was just that everybody remembers that tragic shooting in a synagogue in Pittsburgh. And Kathy called the synagogue to ask if she could bring her people to encircle us with love and protection. Whole shenanigans ensued, misunderstandings about what church she was from and what they wanted to do. And in the end, Kathy came. She came inside the synagogue rather than outside, and in fact also offered a few words of comfort to my community. And the rest is history. We were fast friends after that. So that was a much less engaging version of the story. I'm wondering if you can tell us a few things. One is, what compelled you at that moment to reach out at all? Why then, right? Maybe a little of what led to the protective circle idea, if you want to talk about that a little more. Again,
I'll make it brief.
And there's going to be a follow-up. I'm already breaking the rules because I'm doing a 3-fer and then a follow-up. But the third part, so what compelled you? What about the protective circle? And what made you uncomfortable about coming inside and being part of the service initially?
Oh, that's a good question. And I'm not sure I know the answer to that. So, okay. I'm going to rearrange a little bit the questions. First, the protective circle idea. When I was in seminary at Emory University in Atlanta, a professor of mine told a story about there was a group of, this was a racially charged situation, and there were a group of Black, I think they were students, but I'm not sure. But anyway, they ended up in the quad at the theology school, and these hostile police were pursuing them with, blackjacks and billy clubs and whatever. And the faculty and staff and students from the seminary came out onto the quad and just sort of spontaneously encircled this group of Black citizens and put essentially a barrier. They were a human barrier between them and the hostile police presence. And I had never, it was a form of protest, but it was also a form of, protection and, anyway. So I just thought that was such an amazing image. And so that's question number 2. Question number 1 is why, I think you said why I felt compelled, Lauren. Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
I think when first of all, it was in Pittsburgh. So it was like close. I think of horrible, awful things happening in Miami or Los Angeles or somewhere else. But this was, I could drive there and have lunch. So I think the proximity was frightening to me. But I also, at that moment in my life, was just disgusted sort of with where I felt like things were going kind of in our country. And I was enraged. I just was enraged that anybody would victimize a group of people based on their culture or their religion or their faith. It just flew all over me like white on rice. So that's where that came from. And then when we got to the temple, we were going to like stand outside the doors and just symbolically keep from anybody from coming in. Although if somebody had shown up with a gun, honestly, we might have scattered. But in my mind, we were that committed. But I think what kept us from coming in, Lauren, is that we weren't invited. I mean, we were obviously when we got, you and I were chatting, you invited us, but I just felt like it was intrusive. So, which is so, what is that? Like self-righteous. Like, no, we're going to protect you, poor little things, because you need us, but we're not going to really be a part of it. So I think maybe I was afraid. Afraid's too strong a word, but I was uncomfortable with the fact that I had just sort of plopped us into your story. I think that was it.
That's really insightful. And it's an interesting lesson. It's reminding me of something I was, a story Ruth Messenger with AJWS told us about coming in to do service work with ideas of what to do. And I won't have the example exactly right, but she was talking about coming in and saying, like, we want to make you a library. We want to give you all these books. We want to give you all these computers. We want to do all this so that your students can learn, because they basically have a tent to learn under. And the person said, that's not what we need. If you could give us breakfast, we can learn.
Yeah.
And
it's that.
And it's taking that step back to say, what is it you need? And so often we're well-meaning and we jump to what we think we can do. And it sounds a lot like that, right? That you had this great thing to do, and it would have been touching to us, right? But if you ask, what do you need? We needed people to like just be our family, be our neighbors, be our friends. And it was so powerful to have you inside. So I try to remember that lesson frequently. So my follow-up question is there any change of perspective or anything specific you learned from that experience and that night?
I think what you just said, Lauren, that just because I assumed this, posture of whatever that was, I didn't ask what you needed. And when you told me what you needed, I didn't listen. You said, please come inside. And I said, no, we don't want to intrude on your worship. But you were inviting us to Shabbat. And I was on a horse too high to hear what you were saying. So what I learned was I need to listen, especially in a situation where that's as emotionally charged as that one was. The thing I learned was I need to listen. That very thing you just said, find out what they need before you decide what they need. Yeah, that was a life lesson, well, which I received not too humbly, by the way.
I will say it was not taken the way that you're presenting. I think
good. Well, good.
I think you may be being hard on yourself in self-reflection, but that lesson is still today so important when we're looking at so many groups that are anywhere between marginalized and threatened and negated and right. When we look at all of these groups, the assumptions we might make about what's needed as opposed to what really is needed. And the most important thing being picking up the phone or sending the email or doing what you did, right? That's the most important step we can take. So I have a million other, that was not quick fire, I told you, and it was my fault. I have a million questions for you, but it's your turn.
Well, let me follow up. So in that situation, you were very clear about what you needed. You needed us to come in, and you just said you need friends and you need people to, love you and care about you. But in this culture that is so divided and it's insidious, it starts with an insult, I think, or a joke, like we're joking about this group of people or that, whatever. But it's so insidious because the insults have been almost celebrated, on TV and, I don't want to get into the politics of the whole thing, but I guess I would ask you, if you, not to speak for all Jews everywhere, but what do you feel like you and your congregation, Beth Adam, what do you feel like you need right now as things kind of careen toward insanity?
It's a really hard question. Really hard.
Well, we can move on if you don't want to.
Oh, I'm not passing this quickly. I spoke on Rosh Hashanah a bit about anti-Semitism and pride in our identity. And one piece that I think gets often lost that I did speak about is that it's not our job as Jews to fight anti-Semitism, right? We do it, but it's not women's job to fight sexism. Other people need to step up and acknowledge the wrongdoing that they're doing. And other people who care need to be allies. And we understand that in a lot of different struggles for equality or justice in the world. We tend to overlook it with anti-Semitism and see it sort of as the Jewish people's job to fight anti-Semitism. So for me, it's having a sense that when those jokes are told, the people I know and trust will speak up. People calling and developing partnerships for the things we do agree on. It doesn't have to be about anti-Semitism, right? But having partnerships so we understand we're not alone in the world. Writing the op-ed instead of us writing the op-ed when something happens. Doing anything that shows that that we have allies. And then the flip side of that is us figuring out where is it that we have enough privilege, because we're still awfully lucky as Jewish people in this country. So where do we have the privilege that we're able to speak up in the same way and create partnerships in the same way for other groups? And one of those is perhaps mainline Christian churches that are being clumped together with this extreme religious right, and losing some of their voice, right? So some of that might be us taking an active role in partnering with churches that are like-minded with us.
I've done absolutely no research on this, so this is just off the top of my head. But there's a crisis in mainline churches, in mainline Christian churches right now, because the young people have left. They've left organized religion. I don't know so much about in Judaism, but they've left mainline Christianity. And if they're involved, they tend to be involved in those mega churches that are part of the ultra-right conservative stuff. So I'm sorry if you can hear my dryer. I think that part of because those mainline churches are in decline, it's just like a perfect storm of horrible, because the mainline churches are just not, in general, I wouldn't say in general, they're just not very strong. It's like we all have arthritis and walk with a cane. Like there just isn't much energy, I guess, maybe back behind them in the mainline churches, because we are all dwindling in general. There are exceptions, of course. But I don't know how. I feel like that's, Dietrich Bonhoeffer in Nazi Germany, he was so disgusted with the churches because they were just silent. And I feel like we're kind of headed that way. And part of it is we're just weak. We're just weak. And I don't know. I mean, I wish. I'm retired and I'll be 70 before too long. And I just think, if those of us that are passionate about this are 70, who is there to speak? I don't think so. That's just a lot of nothing, I said.
It is not, but I'm going to offer a possible small glimmer of hope in that and say, you said it's like the churches have arthritis or walking.
Yeah. They do.
I don't know who noticed, right? On Friday night, Kathy's getting over a knee surgery, and you were walking with a cane. And we have some people in our congregation, and we all know people who are some of the fiercest, most passionate, most soulful, most intelligent and determined people I know. So I can't speak to whether the mainline church is really, how much they're really hobbling, but that spirit is in it, and it's responsible for the same pieces. You look at how did we've got tons of work to do, obviously, in racial equality in our country, but we are hundreds of miles ahead of where we were in many ways. And that's because of the mainline churches and the synagogues and other institutions, not only religious institutions, but including them, who took a stand. And the churches that I think you're saying are hobbling are those churches. So
Yeah.
there's some spirit there to be rekindled, I would imagine.
Okay, so I wish there were a way to make a coalition of all of us. I don't mean us against them, but I mean all of us who are committed to something beyond this moment.
Right.
You know, if like it's like putting beads on a string for toddlers. Here are 15 kind of struggling arthritic churches who would, I think, flourish if they had a cause they could commit to. And this it isn't just anti-Semitism, though I think right now, especially right now with what's going on in Israel, oh my gosh, it's so front and center. I just wish we could kind of, here's a struggling synagogue, and here's a struggling little community of, Presbyterians. I wish we could string them all together somehow. And
I don't think it's a pipe dream. I think that's an incredible thought. And but I do think it's important. It's not anti-Semitism. It's much bigger. It's what is our vision for what our society looks like, for who included in that vision, and how we make it real, right, for all of those people. And if we share that general vision, one thing I think, told you this is tea, and we're just going to see where it goes at the same time as it's quick fire questions. One of the things I think is we sometimes get caught up in the one thing we disagree on, rather than saying, what are these common goals and visions and values that we can build that relationship on?
I would agree with that. Absolutely.
This might be the right time. Saying farewell for the moment to Reverend Ketchum, we pause now as we celebrate Shabbat for a moment of separation, to stand alone, to turn inward, to reflect, and to remember. We recall those we have lost, members of our families, beloved friends, those whose lives have touched ours and who are no longer with us. We allow ourselves to wander quietly back in time, hearing again the sound of their voices, feeling comfort in the ongoing connection of their lives to ours. We want to hold time captive, to erase the steely distance between their time and ours. Although they are no longer present, we hold them close through memories of the past, shared experiences, and hopes for the future. We understand that their lives give shape and color to our own. Ein bidei hamavet hakoach la'korma shetamun balev. Death cannot take that which is locked in our hearts. With our tears, in our sorrow, we remember. With our courage and our strength, we do not forget. Acts of kindness, deeds of courage will remain. Beauty created, wisdom shared is not lost. With our tears, in our sorrow, we remember. Im dema'ot beinenu be'et evlenu, nishmor al zecher ahuvenu. With our tears, in our sorrow, we remember. Zecher tzaddik livracha, may the memory of good people bless our days. As we think of the blessings our loved ones have shared with us, we also think of the blessings of Shabbat. We lift this cup of wine together as a tribute to our past, as a blessing for our future. May the allure of its untold flavors beckon us forever to keep uncovering new branches, new roots that hold us together. Tonight, as we welcome the Shabbat, may we find time to spend in our own quiet company and listen to the calling of our hearts. Baruchim hachayim ba'olam. Blessed is the life within the world. Baruchim hachayim ba'adam. Blessed is the life within us. Before our closing reflection, in the spirit of our conversation with Reverend Ketchum, thinking of her image of joining together for something bigger, of putting beads on a string, of committing to a cause, maybe of making music together. In that spirit, we turn to the wisdom of Israeli poet Yehuda Amichai, based on these words that we know from the book of Micah. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. From Micah, we turn to the words of Yehuda Amichai. Don't stop after beating the swords into plowshares. Don't stop. Go on beating and make musical instruments out of them. Whoever wants to make war again will have to turn them into plowshares first. Na'aseh shalom. We can do it. We can make peace. Just as we feel the peacefulness of Shabbat, we can make peace. Perhaps only in small ways right now, but those small ways bring us closer to the day when our swords and our spears become again musical instruments. Na'aseh shalom. We will make peace. May we know blessings, those who are near. May we know blessings, those who are far. May the Sabbath bring its goodness to everyone soon, wherever they are. May we know blessings through the day. May we know blessings through the night. May health be for our children. All things soon be right. May we know blessings in our comings. May we know blessings when we depart. May we live each day with peace and wisdom in each heart. And may this Shabbat be a taste of all of these blessings. Thank you for joining us. Shabbat Shalom.